Hey everyone, and welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I've got a breaking news report coming out from Russia, and today I've got a story out of the Kremlin that says Russia has threatened U.S. President Donald Trump with resumption of nuclear weapons testing if the United States does the same. As recently, Trump has demanded that the U.S. Department of War begin immediate testing of nuclear weapons amid threats from Russia and China. I've got this new update for you here on your screen, and it says Kremlin warns Trump with moving forward on nuclear weapon tests. Russia has warned it could resume nuclear weapons testing after U.S. President Donald Trump announced plans to restart tests for the first time in more than 30 years. So, crazy story, and this information actually came out from the Kremlin earlier today. This is the Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov. He was holding a press briefing earlier, and while speaking to reporters, he allegedly told them that if the United States starts testing nuclear weapons, that Russia will respond in kind and start doing the same. I'm going to show you guys a report that talks more about this, and this is all due to Russia recently testing nuclear weapons or nuclear capable weapons. We talked about the Burevestnik cruise missile that has a nuclear reactor, can also reportedly carry a nuclear warhead. That was apparently tested, I believe, sometime last week by the Russian military, according to Vladimir Putin, the Russian president. Putin also stated that they recently tested an underwater torpedo, a nuclear capable torpedo called a Poseidon, that could apparently cause an underwater nuclear explosion that could force a tsunami wave to wipe out the entire coastline of a certain country, for example. So the Russians have been making a lot of nuclear threats, and that's when just yesterday evening, U.S. President Donald Trump came out with a True Social post, and he basically stated that he was calling on the Department of War to now start testing nuclear weapons due to the threats from Russia and also China, as China, we know, is increasing the size of their nuclear arsenal. So I pulled this up real quick on Wikipedia, and it says Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. The Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, or CTBT, is a multilateral treaty to ban nuclear weapons tests, explosions, and any other nuclear explosions for both civilian and military purposes in all environments. It was adopted by the United Nations General Assembly on the 10th of September 1996, but has not entered into force as 9 specific nations have not ratified the treaty. So I think the last time the U.S. conducted a nuclear test, I believe, was in 1992 in Nevada. Yeah, if they start doing this again very soon, this will be the first time in nearly 30 or more years that it will have been conducted. And also, this comprehensive nuclear test ban treaty would no longer be in effect, right? If they were to start doing this. So we could start seeing a lot of nations testing nuclear weapons, maybe even beyond Russia and the United States. So, very scary situation. We're going to talk some more about this. Let me jump on over here real quick to a mainstream news report with the Telegraph. It says Kremlin, we will test nuclear weapons if Trump does. Global ban on trials has largely been upheld since 1996. And by the way, this is coming out today on October 30th, 2025. And it says here the Kremlin warned Donald Trump that Russia will resume testing its nuclear weapons if the U.S. does the same. Just hours after Russia revealed it tested a nuclear-capable underwater drone on Thursday, Mr. Trump ordered the Pentagon to immediately begin testing America's own nuclear arsenal. And it says, quote, because of other countries' testing programs, I have instructed the Department of War to start testing our nuclear weapons on an equal basis, Mr. Trump said. The Kremlin pointed out that a global ban on nuclear tests has largely been upheld since 1996, warning that if any nation breaches the embargo, Russia will follow suit. If someone abandons the moratorium, Russia will act accordingly. Dmitry Peskov, the Kremlin spokesperson, said in a call with reporters. Peskov insisted that Russia's recent tests of the Burevestnik nuclear-powered cruise missile and the Poseidon nuclear-powered underwater drone had nothing to do with the global ban on testing nuclear warheads. Asked when testing would begin, Mr. Trump told reporters accompanying him on his trip to Asia, it will be announced we have test sites. So Trump confirming that they will be actually testing these. They're preparing some sites right now where they can actually start testing the nuclear weapons that we have on hand in the United States. So that is crazy news. And again, we heard this information earlier today. I showed this to you guys in our last video, that the Kremlin was pretty much coming out and trying to walk back everything they've been talking about with these nuclear capable weapons, and saying that no, we were only testing these weapons just as conventional means. We would never use these, in the nuclear aspect, right? But we know these weapons can carry a nuclear warhead, just like this one right here, the 9M730 Burevesnik cruise missile that Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, had announced just the other day that they tested recently. So here's a little bit of information regarding this missile, according to the Telegraph. It's obviously from Russia. It says engine is nuclear turbojet, range is unlimited, speed 530 to 800 miles per hour, altitude can fly anywhere from 50 to 100 meters, and combat unit is nuclear. Okay, so here's kind of like an overview, a diagram of what the missile looks like. This is a cruise missile, and it says a nuclear-powered propulsion system. Booster rocket launches missile to a sufficient speed to activate the engine, and then the engine draws in air that is then compressed through the compressor right here. Then it says nuclear reactor powers a turbine that blasts out superheated air, providing forward thrust, and then air heats in the reactor and then ejects out the back after the turbine. Okay, and that allows this thing to allegedly fly for a very long time. Some analysts are saying that this thing could fly for potentially several days and linger in certain areas before it decides to hit a target. So obviously very dangerous, and again, we know it can carry a nuclear warhead. So moving on, it says the United Nations expressed concern about the plan, saying nuclear testing was never permissible under any circumstances. The Secretary General has repeatedly asserted that current nuclear risks are already alarmingly high, and all actions that could lead to miscalculation or escalation with catastrophic consequences must be avoided. Nuclear testing can never be permitted under any circumstances, a UN spokesman said. Pentagon officials did not immediately respond to questions about where the nuclear missile testing sites will be. The U.S. last exploded a nuclear bomb beneath the Nevada desert in 1992. North Korea is the only nation to have tested a nuclear weapon in the 21st century. Russia tested a new atomic-powered and nuclear-capable underwater drone and a new nuclear-powered cruise missile this week. However, Putin did not announce any tests of Russia's nuclear weapons, which had occurred in 1990. And it says, quote, regarding the tests of the Burevestnik and the Poseidon, we hope that President Trump was correctly informed about it, Peskov said. There's no way it can be interpreted as nuclear testing. So again, the Russians just trying to come out and say, no, we were not testing nuclear weapons. These were just new types of cruise missiles and the underwater torpedo that was being tested. But again, we know these can carry nuclear warheads. And it's interesting because just over the last week, the Russians were just boasting about how these were major successes and these are, crazy nuclear weapons that can be used to destroy nations and whatnot. Yet, right when we have Trump coming out and saying we're going to start testing nuclear weapons in our nation, now the Russians are trying to walk all of that back. And I thought that was interesting. Here's a little chart kind of showing all the nations in the world that have nuclear weapons. It says here Russia looks like they have the largest arsenal, the U.S. just right behind them. You can see China here apparently at 600 as of January 2024. Apparently that number could be a lot higher by now, and Trump was recently saying that China could be nearly equal or in line with Russia and Russia and the U.S., in the next possibly 5 years or so. So finally, it says here Mr. Trump did not specifically mention the Russian tests in his post, but alluded to the nuclear stockpiles controlled by both Xi Jinping and Putin, saying Russia is second and China is a distant third, but will be even in 5 years. Putin has in 2023 signed a bill revoking Russia's ratification of a global nuclear test ban, which Moscow said was needed to put Russia on par with the U.S. The global test ban was signed by Bill Clinton in 1996, but never ratified by the U.S. Senate. Earlier this year, Mr. Trump signaled he wanted to resume nuclear arms control talks with Russia and China and has called for denuclearization during his second term. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson called on the U.S. to refrain from carrying out nuclear tests. And it says, quote, China hopes the U.S. will earnestly fulfill its obligations under the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty and honor its commitment to suspend nuclear testing, Guo Zhikun said at a briefing in Beijing. So crazy story, right? Is the U.S. going to start testing these nuclear weapons? I mean, Trump apparently did direct the Department of War to start doing so. So let's see if they start detonating these things. If they do, I think we're going to see Russia responding, also testing their nuclear weapons, and then possibly even China. Could China do that as well? Again, we know that China is building up their nuclear arsenal right now, and then Russia, with all this nuclear testing they're doing as well with these different weapons, I wouldn't be surprised they start testing them with actual nuclear warheads. And this could get pretty crazy and very scary at the same time with all these nations start testing these again. So let's hope this is not going to be the case and that cooler heads prevail. Everybody kind of turns around and goes the other direction. But I'm going to keep a close eye on this. And if we get some other updates, I'll let you guys know what's going on. But as of now, we see that the Kremlin is warning Trump. If the U.S. starts testing these nuclear weapons, they will start doing the same thing. So guys, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know what you think about all these details down below in the comment section. That's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.